Yes, I introduced myself to Mike. Hi, Mike. You ready over there, Mike? Thank you. I'd like to call to order the Hanover, New Hampshire Select Board meeting for July 7th, 2025. Breaking every rule of IT wisdom, we are launching two new tech initiatives at the same time. We are both using Diligent Community for our meeting sharing of files, and we're also putting this meeting up on Zoom for the first time. So both those things in effect today. So if there are any issues, a little banter to that effect, that's just because we're trying to work things out. But right now it looks like smooth sailing. So thank you all for coming tonight. We will begin. There's no public hearing. Here's what we have no public hearing. We do have agenda review. Are there any items for which the select board would like to reorder the agenda?
We want the police earlier.
Yeah, Rob. So, business requiring discussion or action, comes later, but do we want to go ahead and do that?
Sure.
Yeah, okay. Perfect. Good. Okay, so let's do that. And let's go forward with public comment. This is the period of the agenda where the public is welcome to address the select board. We ask that one addresses issues not already scheduled on the agenda. We ask that individuals restrict their comments to 5 minutes. Questions will be directed to the chair. Are there any members of the public who wish to address the select board at this time? David, did you want to speak?
Yes, please.
I have a duty as a 25-year veteran who swore an oath to protect the Constitution from all enemies, foreign and domestic, because I know Hanover, along with Dartmouth, violated the law and abused people in Hanover. I asked the members of the board to watch a video called The Siege of Mink Brook. I wondered if any of them had seen it. You see it? Yes. No? You saw it?
I neglected to. I'll take a look at
You didn't watch it? Wasn't
Must have missed
important
it.
in the last eight years that
it.
I've been
Slipped
coming
my
here.
mind.
Slipped
Thank you
your
for
mind.
reminding me.
Okay. Slipped your mind. I love the 4th of July. I'm going to recite part of the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. Now, my rights don't come from Hanover. My right to be a free man and to have liberty. It comes from God, Creator. Hanover had no legal right to hold me and my family captive for 25 and a half months, and yet not one of you seeks to know the truth. We ended the other day with the Pledge of Allegiance, where it says there's justice, liberty, and justice for all. How can it be that a succession of selectmen have allowed the abuse of citizens in silence? Mr. Houseman held my family and me in violation of state and federal law. Athos, Veracius, and Joanna Whitcomb were accessories to Robert Houseman's violation of our civil rights with a metal fence, and have remained silent for the 8 years I've attempted to get select board attention. Fact is that Robert Houseman abused a defenseless group of citizens, evicting them and then destroying their shelter. He forced us to use Mink Brook that Hanover was polluting with contaminated asphalt waste for our drinking water supply. Robert Houseman's lack of concern for people locked in a concentration camp without income because we had no access to my woodworking shop or to rent rooms out to make money. We had no electricity because it was turned off because we couldn't pay our bill. We had no drinking water because when the electricity was turned off, we had no pump. We had little firewood because when Hanover came, they took our chainsaw when they removed my tools and wood supplies. We're also without food and medical care. Now, we had no fire lane or no driveway. This is all criminal under both New Hampshire law, 633:2, restraint of freedom, and federal law 18 U.S.C. 242. These laws were enacted to protect freed slaves. We continue to be treated like slaves, silenced and ignored. This town has used the police, fire department, public works, and zoning office to hide its crimes. It is time to expose Hanover and Dartmouth's treatment of the people entrusted that have been affected by their criminal polluting and abuse of Hanover citizens through false imprisonment.
Matters not on the agenda. Seeing none. Let's move forward to business requiring action, which is the police department restructuring.
I'd like to ask the chief to come up and join us at the table. In the select board packet, I provided an overview. Chief Martin proposed to reorganize the Hanover Police Department to create 3 formal divisions. One's operations, one's special services, and a new one downtown service division. The goal of this is to improve the efficiency, enhance downtown coordination, and support career development. There's no change in the number of sworn officers. There's an estimated savings to the town because we move someone from hourly to salary, reducing the overtime. And with that, I'd ask the chief to speak to the proposal, how he envisions it working, and enhancing the quality of the downtown service that we provide. So with that.
Good evening. Thank you for your time tonight. So the proposal to create a downtown division basically would entail the addition of a police lieutenant position and 1 police corporal position. It would delete currently from our full-time equivalent roster a police sergeant and 1 police officer position. So there would be no net gain of full-time equivalent positions. Our position status of 21 sworn would remain the same. And again, as the town manager mentioned, the sergeant would be promoted to a lieutenant position, and that position would be salary based. So there would be no cost associated with this increase. What this increase will do is enhance the capabilities and services that we can provide downtown, specifically to the business community and business engagement. It would allow the lieutenant to be the commander of that division, to engage more with the businesses in the downtown area, and to have a corporal with him to assist in the parking enforcement as well. So this would also augment our current parking operations, create more of a downtown team that would be focused and accessible to the downtown community, which not only includes the businesses, of course, includes the residents, the downtown areas, and alike. We would, one of the sergeant who would be the potential lieutenant is bike certified. We would have the other officer bike certified as well, so that we would have more of a presence with the bike patrol downtown as well as foot patrols. Again, they would interact with the parking team and provide more efficient services in that area. I think this would improve supervision and accountability on our end, as well as help us with retention of our highly trained personnel. At this point, the particular sergeant that is in parking has completed a lot of professional development and is ready to promote at this time. He is currently on the list and has passed an assessment center conducted by MRI. So my proposal is to enhance the services. Some of the extra services that could be provided would be enhanced engagement with the community, businesses in the area, more offering of CPTED, which is crime prevention through environmental design, talking about crime prevention strategies, any thefts, patterns, trends, things that are going on in the area, employee concerns that the businesses may have. They would be more attentive and basically be assigned to focus on those matters. So I think the business leaders in the community would benefit greatly from this, as well as the overall community and the level of police services with the number of visitors that we have in Hanover, the increased presence of foot patrol, increased presence of the bike patrol. And this would still be augmented by the regular other 19 police officers as well. This is in addition, it's kind of a surge in the downtown area over and above what you see now. So we would still do what we're doing now. This would be over and above. Schedule specifically for that corporal would be staggered so that we would have coverage on Saturdays and one less day during the week for that person, but we would have a schedule so we do get more presence, specifically during peak visitation. We have events around the college, whether it's visits, alumni. We know when the surges happen. We'd like to have more of a visible presence downtown during those times as well, just to meet the need, as opposed to just having 2 officers on duty. And that's the gist of our proposal this time. So thank you for considering it.
Questions? Jen?
I was wondering what area is it like parking district 1 and 2, like the business parking district, or does it include West Wheelock or?
Yeah, pretty much we would
What?
focus in the downtown area, in the Wheelock area, in part of the campus as well as needed, around the green, around downtown, around the boat launch area, the Ledyard Bridge. Those are areas that we have an increased surge in due to the unfortunate situations and incidents that have happened over the past few years. Recently, as of last week, we started a new initiative with the Marine Patrol and with the New Hampshire Fish and Game to have Hanover police officers on the boats patrolling the Connecticut River and around the waterways, just to have that increased safety factor. We'll be doing that throughout the season, along with having our bicycle patrol and foot patrols around the Ledyard Bridge, the boat ramps, and just promoting safety, specifically towards the end of the summer when the students come back and those areas are more frequently used as well. We're hoping to get some good material as far as images, some video, and we're putting together a public safety announcement that we can use in fall when we brief the incoming students, the Greek life safety briefings and such, so that we can show them the history of what's happened and educate them to make their best decisions and show them what we're doing proactively to help keep them safe. And directed patrols have also been increased to include working with our counterparts, since we don't have a boat, but we're going to be doing more frequent walkthroughs of Gilman Island and different areas that we don't frequent, that have had incidents, and the officers need more of a familiarization with those areas. So we've already started doing that and doing some orientation familiarization. So the downtown unit wouldn't be totally responsible for that, but they would certainly be doing that along with the patrol. They may have more time where they certainly would be answering calls downtown, but they also would be able to manage those calls, and we'd be able to effectively refocus them on their downtime.
Thank you.
Jared?
I do have something I wrote up that I would like to read as a citizen, instead of a select board member, so I'm gonna go sit over there. That's okay. Okay.
That's fine. Okay, great.
Okay, so this is my business owner hat, not my select board hat.
Okay.
So I lend my full support to this proposal for reorganization of the Hanover Police Department and the suggestion to add a downtown services division supervised by a lieutenant, which will cover parking enforcement, downtown response unit, permitting review, and other items listed in your request. Parking remains one of the most pressing issues for downtown Hanover. The current parking budget is roughly double the entire budget for the town of Hartford. It serves as a tax on our downtown businesses, their employees, and most importantly, their customers. Many owners are spending upwards of $10,000 a year on parking expenses alone, and that's for company vehicles, employee parking reimbursements, and this is on top of property taxes, which for a small restaurant on Main Street is roughly $30,000 a year. So given these stakes, it's critical that local businesses have a clear voice and consistent engagement in how parking policy is designed, communicated, and enforced. While in the downtown working group, we've held roughly 40 meetings with parking improvement identified as one of the group's top 4 priorities. We have only had a representative from parking at those meetings twice from my recollection. And this is despite repeated invitations and a sincere effort to include and collaborate with that team. Members of the parking division, especially the parking sergeant, clerk, and garage supervisor, have always been welcomed and treated with the utmost respect from the downtown group. Still, there's a growing perception among community stakeholders that the division is either not accountable to its constituents or not fully engaged in the broader effort to enhance downtown Hanover. Requests to address issues such as signage, garage upkeep, enforcement policies have often gone unanswered or deferred to outside consultants. At the same time, the enforcement approach has increasingly been viewed as overly rigid and unwelcoming, sending the wrong messages to people who we want to attract to our town. So my hope is that this restructuring will create new opportunities for collaboration, improve responsiveness, and ultimately deliver the kind of well-managed and user-friendly parking system that a town like Hanover deserves.
Thank you. May I respond to Marlon? So I really appreciate that. I was totally unaware of that. I know they do have operational requirements. Sometimes they have staffing to attend those. Okay. I'd ask in the future if I could be CC'd so that if they are busy and they have that operational need that they can't be there, I will have myself or somebody from the command staff be present because I do value our commitment to that group. I've been to some of the initial meetings and I wasn't aware of that necessarily. Okay. So I do want to make sure that we are in attendance, and I agree with your comment that this proposal is almost geared to helping solve some of these communications issues and transparency, and just to ingrain with the fabric of the business community downtown and the overall community. So great, thank you for your comments.
Actually, do you want, I can make a good copy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burke, and Jared Bunch come back up. So question as to coverage, you suggested that there's be a little more of a presence downtown than there currently is. Does that imply that there's a less coverage somewhere else? I mean, you're not expanding the size of the force. Do we give something up somewhere else?
No, well, one thing right now, we are totally fortunate. I'm in my 5th year here in Hanover. And since I've been here, we've been down 5 of our 21 sworn officers. Currently, we're only down 1. So we're operating at the highest level that I've seen. We had 1 recently back out of the last academy. We have 1 officer that's training right now at the station. We brought him on 2 months early because he recently graduated from Colby Sawyer and needed employment until the September academy. So we're kind of prepping him for the academy. I don't know if you've met Omar, he's been walking around, but he's looking forward to the academy. He wouldn't necessarily not be out until December. So, and with his FTO, he wouldn't be operational until the spring. We are going to push out this week a announcement. It's an open announcement. We're going to more or less push it out on social media and try to recruit a already certified officer, a lateral. And if we get that person, they would only have to, complete the FTO program, and then we would be fully staffed. So we're going to try to do that, but we are operating with 20 personnel right now. 1's in the academy. He should be coming out in August, and then he should be operational in the fall. So as far as staffing goes, we are doing more now than I've seen us be able to do in my 5 years here. So now we get to, instead of just being reactive, we can start being a little more proactive. We can start doing a little bit more engagement, and having the 3 lieutenants, I have the command and control and the accountability for that engagement. Before, it would be me or Charlie or Mike having to go out and kind of do all these different jobs. Now that I have a command staff and I have, if this was to be approved, I would have 3 divisions. And that frees me up to go do more stuff like attend these meetings that I was just made aware of that we had missed a few of. So we're kind of starting to have the luxury of fine tuning our operation. And that's what this is. When I was hired as the chief and I went through my process, one thing I had mentioned is I wasn't looking to do any major changes, and I don't really consider this a major change. This is in line with our strategic plan, of which we'll be starting to redo in the fall, creating a new 3-year strategic plan based on where we're at, and hopefully a higher level of personnel staffing. Yeah, so I think basically just to get back to your question is right now we have 20 of our 21 FTEs full, and we're at a better place than I've seen us as far as staffing. Also on the communication side, we were reaching critical. We were down 3, I think the last time I spoke. We have one person in the communication training officer program, and we have two other highly qualified candidates in the pipeline to make that 100% fully staffed. So the communication side is looking good, and the patrol side is looking the best it's been, but we're still gonna push to try to get that 21st FTE filled as quick as we can.
Terrific, thank you. Other questions?
I do want to make a comment that in discussing this with the chief, I think it's important to emphasize that these are player coaches. These are not desk jobs. The lieutenants are out in the field every day, along with the captain and the chief. And it's important to realize we're not shifting the load in any way. These guys are going to continue to do footwork and all the other things that they do.
Sorry, what is Sergeant Sweeney, what percentage of his time is spent on?
Right now, 100%. Well, other than he's a part-time member of a regional SOU special operations team, so that's, I think, 1 day a month he trains with them unless there's a call out. But other than that, all his time is here. Other than conducting training, he's also a defensive tactics instructor. So sometimes he teaches at the academy. So I would say 80% of his time is spent right now, boots on the ground and parking. Some of that is often covering the office though, just because we have a parking clerk and then we have Chris McEwen. So sometimes he actually has to staff the window. Like today when I was down there checking in, he was dealing with customers. And sometimes he has to cover the parking garage. But other than that, he's supervising, managing the parking vision.
And I will say that Chris and I have been working, Sergeant Swain and I have been working with the chief on the ask that the select board had made regarding the rates and fees for September. And, he's dug right into it. We've met several times and discussed options. And my expectation is we'll have something for the September meeting that will address a lot of the issues that were at our last rates and fees schedule meeting.
Any other questions for Chief Martin? You're looking for action this evening, Rob?
I do, I am. There is a suggested motion. It does require select board approval because it's a restructuring and create a new position. Otherwise, follow to the town manager. So I'm asking that you, page 2.
I move to approve the proposed reorganization of the Hanover Police Department as outlined in the memorandum dated April 14, 2025, including the creation of a third police lieutenant to oversee the newly established Downtown Services Division.
A second.
Second, any further discussion, comments? Jim, you have a comment, if you wouldn't mind, your name and where you live.
Be appropriate for public comment on this now?
Yes,
Oh, good. Jim Rubens of Hanover. My wife and partner Susan is here. And 3 clusters of comments. The head of the department, the Downtown Hanover Working Group that deals with parking. And we've been meeting for pretty close to 3 years. And frustration because basically over this 3-year period, we have clearly the consensus among the downtown is that we've got a parking problem. It's been the case for 35 years since I've been doing business here. My wife and I have owned 3 businesses, a restaurant, 2 retail businesses. We own Hanover Park with 11 merchants in it right now who deal with this. And over the 3 years of the Downtown Hanover Working Group, which is the 3rd attempt to take a crack at fixing parking in the downtown, pretty much nothing has happened. Nothing has been done in 3 years. So we need to, whatever reorganization happens, we need to have a person in the town probably responsible for the reorganization, reprioritization, reengineering, rationalization, technology enablement of parking so that we have a cost-efficient, customer-friendly, employee-friendly parking system, which we don't have right now. And we've not had that for 35 years. It's our #1 negative with respect to customers coming into town and considering doing business here. Our #1 negative is a punitive parking system. There are means using technology to fix that problem and also to generate cost savings. So I think it's quite important. And none of this is meant, these comments are not meant to impugn anyone at all, because everyone is very well-meaning who's been working on this. Just the pace of change has got to kick up at least an order of magnitude. We're in a new budget year right now. We put off the process of contemplating some of these changes pending the acquisition of a new consultant to help us with parking. That hasn't started yet, but we are in a new budget year. This is a good time to actually launch into motion on making changes. So in summary, I think it's very important, whatever re-engineering happens here, restructuring, that there be a person in the town, whether it be a town employee, part of your department, or someone else, or a consultant that's on board for an extended period of time to engage in the transformation we need, for someone to be solely responsible and committed a lot of hours until the job is done. We really should not be forced to wait another year to make some of the changes that can be made. Technology is available. We need to make changes.
Thank you, Joe.
I just would like to say, when I go to other cities, the meters are all electronic. There are no people involved. And as such, I feel like this is a small town. The number of meters could be upgraded so that they are more computerized, and that you could potentially add more time, and that it might be such that, you know, okay, you might pay something for an hour. If you want to extend that, you might be able to electronically augment that, but you might pay a higher rate. And I think that we need to start looking at sort of electronic means to better enhance the experience. Because let me just say, rents in Hanover in our building have gone down, not up, since we built that building. Fortunately, we have good tenancy. In the building, what we do is we have the town, and you've never really pushed this, that you can buy stickers for your customers and they can get up to a couple of hours free in the downtown. Now, the reason I know this is because in downtown, it was always downtown park and shop. You go into a store, you buy something, you get a little stamp, that stamp then goes on it, you get then a free hour. And in Woodstock, if you go and you get a ticket and you show a receipt, instantly that ticket is voided. Hanover has never done anything really friendly when it comes to parking. It is punitive. I have friends who say, nah, not coming. I'm gonna shop down at the Powerhouse. I'm gonna shop down at West Lebanon. And we've lost business because of how punitive the parking is. And I know it's limited space, but the downtown park and shop, pushing that more, a little bit more forgiveness, it's a bitch. And excuse my language, but that's what customers do.
Understood. Okay, thank you for that additional comment. Any other comments? We have a motion on the table. All those in favor? Aye. Thank you, Chief Martin.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
Good luck with your organization. It's exciting.
Thanks.
Okay.
Minutes, that's requiring action.
Wait, you want to stick with action?
Oh,
Okay, yeah, I like it. All right.
I wasn't here, was I?
You were not.
You're not here.
Okay.
You're like, oh.
We could do that. I think both you and Alphas were not here, so I think we have three voters. So there's should we go forward with minutes? We'll be done with action?
Let's do it.
Let's act on action. All right.
I move to approve the minutes of the June 16th.
Jenny, seconds.
Second.
You seconded. Okay. Comments?
I was just double checking the print.
As a rule, we don't put the people who attended the meeting.
We can't, we need to create
I think we normally
What was the question?
do. It's right here,
Do we normally pick the attendees to, so it's a,
Yeah,
how many?
yeah.
right? Right up here.
Wait, you mean people who speak or people who just
I
hang out?
guess people who come to the meeting.
We don't do
Oh.
that.
No, I know that there are people who are in the minutes.
Right.
I guess let me reframe the question. Should we be doing that
Identifying those who spoke,
at meetings?
those who speak are noted in the minutes. It's, the question I think is broader,
In terms of present, those people who are
those who are in
present.
the audience. That would require us to have a log signed.
Right, I understand that. So I guess my question is
We can do that.
that something that we should do?
I don't,
To track attendance, do we?
I quickly answered no, I don't know. Why? Because people can also watch on Zoom if we agree with each other with this. I don't know. Joanna, I just, strikes me as
More work
More
for
work.
other people.
real
Okay.
game.
Okay. I don't have a strong feeling.
That was not really much of an argument. That was just.
No, it wasn't. But I mean, one of our tenets is how do we get more people engaged? And the question is, how do you measure it? Well, if there's no one in attendance, that's one way of measuring it.
And then always be very controversial. So.
Yeah,
Oh,
that is one way to
Stage,
get it. Yeah, it's one way to get it.
Thanks, Jared. All right,
Too many come, I will sing.
They will sing. That'll keep them away, is that what you're saying?
Yes. All right.
Yeah.
Food does right. Jane, did you have any comments?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay, so all those in favor
What have we
of the
voted?
minutes?
Oh, yeah, not voting.
Uh,
Abstaining.
Three in favor, 2 abstentions.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. All right, so let's move back to business requiring discussion. Needn't necessarily be a long discussion, but in the packet, and this is really queuing up a select board retreat, perhaps late this summer, fall. In the packet is the objectives and key results for fiscal year 25. I took a stab at checking off things that I felt were largely complete, if not totally complete, and boxes for things which were not done for various reasons. We can we have comments on that. I think we have discussed this more than once.
We haven't hired a
times.
sustainability coordinator.
Thought I did.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, okay, that's right. So, all right, so that's back to the box.
So
Right,
that's a
well,
box.
I have these are the ones that we passed, they're just a little different than
What's
what
on
I
here?
included. It hasn't printed them. It should be both sides. A little bit bigger, for my old eyes.
Okay, I like it.
How's this different, Jenny?
The second one and some of the language, there's under the first one, advance the Hanover Sustainability Master Plan. Number 2 is here to support the planning board's efforts to comprehensively update Hanover zoning ordinance to reflect the goals of the 2024 Hanover Sustainability Master Plan, ensure sufficient resources are allocated for robust community engagement to explain and solicit support for zoning changes, provide regular zoning information at select board meetings.
Yes.
And then some of the other language was also tweaked here and there.
Thank you.
But
You
that
and I-
was
you and I
the
met this, right? Can you send this to me? So I think you have this, right?
This is the 2000s. This is the, we have it.
Yeah.
We'll get it.
All right. So I think we have 2 versions. So sorry. I think you're right. I think this is the correct version.
This was the adopted version.
This is one that was adopted.
Well, that's a good one to work.
That's a good one to work. Yep.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes. So 1A2, supporting planning board's efforts, that was an addition. The others were slightly different words, but same list, right?
I think so. I can go back, I can check.
My sense is that the biggest area where we did significantly advance was the affordable housing. So there were a number of events. But I do think we executed, and I say we, in a very inclusive and with all credit to those who actually do the work, like Rob and town department heads, et cetera. I think this was largely successful across a number of fronts, including just today with vision of the new system, diligent community, and the Zoom access. So this is really setting the stage for our OKR development for next year. And I did send out an email today to select board members because this, although this on the second page talks about draft 2026 should be OKRs, this is really meant to be just a list to reference. It is not in any way meant to say this is the list we should look at. There are many things missing from here. And a number of these we actually executed against, so they are probably less of a priority in the coming year than they were last year. So, but it is meant to just be out there, put this in the public domain, and when we get together for goal setting retreat, it's more detail. So that was really the objective tonight. The intention was not to go through this in any kind of detail.
Okay. And so would the assignment be, this was your crack at it based on what you've heard, and that the rest of us should take a crack? Or we get
Yes.
together?
Yes, look
And
at
ask
this.
people to say, yeah, I don't like this one.
Right, and clearly we can't execute against this entire 2026 list, but there may be elements that rise to the level of a priority. So it is just meant to be list for the mill.
Right.
Okay.
Something to throw darts at.
Yes.
Thank you for taking that initiative,
Sure.
Chair Harry.
Happy to go. All right.
Are these meant to be like measuring what matters or more of a to-do list? Or how do you?
It's meant to be things to consider that might rise to the level of a priority. I think one of the issues with having objectives is not to have too many, because then I think we found that we lose focus. So it's kind of an editing process. Do any of these rise to the level of, yeah, we really should address that this year in a significant way? And I'm sure there are others outside of these domains that we should also add. We may want to consider housing again to be a priority for the coming year. We'll obviously be spending a lot of time on Wheelock, South Main, if that moves forward. So that's going to be, I'm sure, an extensive discussion.
I think I had a different question.
Okay.
Is this meant to be a to-do list or objectives and key results where we're framing what we're measuring? Like, I was quite smitten by that John Doerr that you had us watch. And he was very, very keen on measuring what matters.
Yes.
So I was looking for some measurements, like, so is that, are we still going for that? Like, this is like a list and we're really going for, how can we measure what matters to make sure we're on track? So we're, managing everything with everybody on the same page in terms of our vision and where we're headed.
I'm glad you're still smitten. I too am smitten. I I don't know about the rest of the board, but we should talk about whether.
Great work.
Yeah, smitten, yes. But
You are an English person. It's a language, you are a language person.
perhaps Rob's opinion matters here too. So the objectives, key results approach, I mean, the idea was to bring more focus, more accountability, make it measurable. Do you feel like there's an appetite on the part of department heads, the town to continue this direction?
I think the question that was asked twice now at town meeting is one that eats at me. And, while I think the town report attempts to provide that information, it does it in a way that's not very effective. So ultimately, I think we, as the town staff, need to figure out how we can present the information that the work we do, and then figure out how we can measure success or failures and figure out how to move the needle to the positive.
So perhaps when we do our homework and look at this, much of it is a to-do list. And you can say yes or no, and that's a way of measuring it. Yes, we hired a sustainability coordinator, but maybe there's more specific measurements, because that question does kind of gnaw at us or comes back at us at town meeting. Not that we have to, measure everything, but there are things that are pretty easy to measure.
Yes. And I know kind of related to this, we get batted around the idea of developing key performance indicators. What are those metrics? Where are we operating on, various yardsticks? Probably every department's got a different set of yardsticks, but
Yeah,
That
and just so we're clear on language, the way I've interpreted key performance indicators, which can be very important and useful for knowing how many gallons of sewage we're processing, how many lines we're painting, what we need to keep this town, this beautiful town, just operating. Those are great. But what I took away from the John Doerr was that we set visionary goals, which are literally targets that we can reach towards, we're all aiming towards. And we are measuring what matters and we're picking just a couple of them because that's what keeps us focused on whatever big transitions we're trying to negotiate. So they're complementary, but not the same. And I'm sure you can come up with an example that's not exclusive as well. But in the Venn diagram of things, you'd have operational, everyday operational. Is this functioning? Is this what are we hitting on metrics running our departments? And then the objectives and key results is your strategic plan. Yeah, so we have two already, right? We're we're energy neutral by 2030 and include transportation and heating by 2050. Those are objectives and key results. We have two. They're adopted by the entire town, and they're there, right? And we have some measurement, particularly for town facilities, as to where we are. We have some measurement for the rest of the town, broadly. We might want some more around those so we can understand whether we're actually getting there, or other things that are strategically important for the town to be aiming towards. So we're sustainable and resilient in the future, in a place and inclusive. Basically all the values that we took the time to enumerate in our master plan.
yes, I hear what you're saying. This list is not nested in the way that our OKRs are, because the OKRs are advance the Hanover Sustainability Master Plan, and then go down, it's revive efforts to develop workforce into affordable housing, and then there's specific key results. So it's kind of nested in the way that I think you're referring to. And this, you're right, is a little bit more in the order of a to-do list. And it's not within that hierarchy. And so I think it causes you to say, well, is that important? Why is it important? Does it fit into some other overarching goal? So I think that exercise is important. It kind of, does this fulfill, this is an element that's missing? How does it fit within our overall broader goals? And it may or may not. So that may become the sort of litmus test for some of this stuff.
Part of the discussion.
Yes.
But I think I like the idea of, I think your example is a really good one in terms of our 2030, 2050 goal. Because I think we all, that was adopted how many years ago?
Yeah.
17,
By
I would
the
say
select
7,
board.
yeah.
That was the select board, not town meeting.
The town meeting vote 2017,
It was both.
It's both.
100%,
by
ready for
2050.
100 by 2050 was adopted.
Remember, we had a lot of debate here, and I think we
did.
put it on
Did we
the,
put it on the warrant?
The warrant, remember the,
This is irrelevant. It's
No,
irrelevant.
that's okay. But
Continue. It's not a.
but it's a great example. And so, yes, I think you're right, Jay, we need to think about it in that way. How does this sort of cascade up to big goals, in terms of strategic direction? So.
Mark.
Yes.
My 2 cents, yeah. I don't think it really matters if we use John Deere's or whatever. I think the important thing was that we spent a bunch of time talking about what we wanted to do, and then we tracked it. That's the thing that you have to do. Whether it's, the semantics about, do we use verbs instead of nouns or adjectives, whatever. It doesn't really matter, at least in my opinion. But we have to have things that we want to focus on, and then we have to be reminded of those things throughout the year to make sure that.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jared. I mean, we used to do, in previous boards, we would just have a list, which is fine. As long as you keep track of your list.
We were pretty diligent and deliberate about making this, going through the whole John Deere thing. However we do it, I think if we have a focused list, that's the.
Yes. Yeah, agreed.
I do think that measuring, it would be nice to have an answer.
Totally agree.
To that town meeting question,
Yeah.
how do we know if we're doing? I mean,
Question?
what do we get for our tax dollars?
But that's one of those.
Yes.
that's one person's voice though, right?
Right, and that's one of those things that's like.
Snowplows.
Snowballs.
I feel like that's more of like a communications and PR type of thing
Yeah.
than anything else. Because we all know that, that employees of this town work freaking hard and they do a great job in a lot of different areas. But most of it is like, especially to them, pretty boring stuff, right? Paving roads is like not something that people get really excited about. But it's really important and they do it really well, right? Or fixing freaking water breaks on the 4th of July
Oh my God.
in the middle of the night. Like, holy cow, that's freaking awesome. But we don't pay any attention to that. And, there's a lot of people that would just say like, F it, who cares? We'll fix it tomorrow or Monday. But they don't, they do a good job and they're out there and they did it and they fixed it and it was great, but no one is.
Celebrating this, yeah. Well, I mean, and maybe
That's
what we
what we
need
have
to
to do
do, we need to track it and tell the story. And I think communication is something that it's really hard to do well.
That's the stuff that people look at. When we start failing at that, then people get pissed.
And then we'll have a full audience. Going all tying it back to Atha's comment. No, I mean, I was out of town, I came in, I'm like, oh my gosh. 7:30 on 4th of July. There's our town crew out there with a backhoe. Police people are directing traffic.
Where was this? It was.
Lebanon Street, right here between Hanover Park and the Hoppin Center or like
Just east of the previous break in April.
Right, the 27th water main break in downtown.
Yeah, no, but the police department was out there, Public Works. Had you had your, at least it wasn't during the parade, but
No, I didn't have any interruptions. No.
wow, it's incredible. Okay, thank you for this work.
Yes, you are. Rob, do you want to talk about the calendar? And I know you put together kind of a template for the full year. What was notable is we don't have any dates on any of them, but it's kind of twice per month.
Sure. So the proposal starts with having a gap in July and August, giving all of us a chance to decompress a little bit and focus on enjoying the summer and getting some things done without trying to push out a packet. So the idea would be to skip the second meeting in July and the first meeting in August. Our meetings would be the first and third Mondays of every month. So when I say first meeting, it's the first Monday, and the second meeting is the third Monday. And then it's an attempt to show you what we already have on the books, regardless of what else we're doing. Budget cycle starts, we have things like dog warrant and the MS 435 and the MS 535 update. It happens the second meeting in September. We'll launch department deep dives again in October. I think Parks and Rec is about to be teed up for you. Maybe we want to schedule that earlier so you can get to the facilities and see them before they shut down for the winter. But especially the fields, if you're interested, so you know where all of our assets are, including Lebanon. Then in October, we start discussing budgets, including social services guidelines and outlining our FY27 budget process. In November, if we're going to discuss it, that would be the appropriate time to give us a target tax rate if we are going to try to target it. We did not have a target tax rate last year. We put forward a budget without one. December, we review social services, as the board does, if that's consistent with our past practice of last year. Second meeting's open. Then we start the small budget process, small department budgets in first meeting in January, and then the larger departments, January and February, finalize the budget. So this is just really an attempt to give you what we're committed to already and understand how everything else fits into the pie, in the puzzle. And it's pretty straightforward. And this can be replicated year after year, so we can just plug and play if that's what the board likes. And it gives us some stability in figuring out when we host meetings and how we schedule our time.
This is awesome. This is what we were talking about, the OAM next year. This is perfect.
Thank you, Rob, very much for putting that together. Do we have a date for the town meeting?
We do, it's in the calendar.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Oh, it's the second Tuesday in May, so whatever.
Second Tuesday, all right, so it's, yeah.
I'm sorry. It's always the second Tuesday in May unless there's a COVID hiccup.
Got it. Yeah, thank you. So on the, any questions on the overall annual calendar?
I can just say that I like the idea of skipping the second meeting in July and the first meeting in August if there's nothing that critical that we have to sign off on.
This year so far feels a little less chaotic than last year.
It does. All right,
May 12th.
May 12th, okay. So in the context of these meetings, I think I threw out to the select board, and Rob, you were copying on this, just a discussion of dates for a training session, and I want to come back to that in a moment, but also for a goal setting session. And I think that order might make sense to do training first and then goal setting. I think it's, viewed as maybe 2 3-hour sessions. Could be in the morning, could be in the afternoon. I know it's a big ask of select board members to be able to carve out 2 3-hour sessions during the day. I think it could be effective during the day than at night, just from an energy standpoint. So I did throw out some days, some specific days. I think I emailed to all of you. So I'm hoping that you can come back to me and we can see if there's a fit. And again, thinking training first and then followed perhaps a week or 2 later by goal setting.
I have trouble with my email. Can't click, for some reason I can't get your dates.
The PDF didn't
And
open.
it's acting weird.
I can't get it.
Really?
It wasn't, so it says I have to open M360, I just can't do it on the iPad or phone.
Or which email are they in?
The email that was sent earlier today.
At noon today, from Carrie to the 4 of us. There's an article called the Juggling Act, and then the
Yeah.
second attachment was.
Oh, I didn't see the second intent.
I'll say sugar bush possible dates. That today is my ski resort.
Think about skating, it's good.
Says couldn't load file retry. I think might have something like.
I get students back, it's like first week in September.
Yeah.
So
Let's do
What are the dates?
one of the survey things. Cause
Like the whole thing?
cause like right here, like we
yes.
can't add our availability on.
No, I
this,
know,
right?
we probably should do it, we should probably.
I mean,
do
we
a
can
survey.
send it to you,
Do
but
it.
then you'll have to collate it.
Yeah.
If we,
We'll generate a doodle poll for you.
Kate, do it.
Yeah.
Doodle, okay, do this
We
as.
may
Okay,
use
let's
something
do-
else like Microsoft.
All right, so
Whatever.
you got this, Rob, so you can put.
they'll just have AI look at all of our calendars, and just figure it out.
Yeah, all right. Okay. So, and I think, hopefully we can get some work here. Second session, we'll see. Thank you. Any questions on Jacobs, the facilitator? She's been in the community for a number of years. She's often addressed in an article that I sent around. She's been involved in our community, although she lives across the river, but Dartmouth grad, and PhD in systems and organizational behavior.
I think I met her, I saw what she did with Dresden stuff, I think it's great.
Can you guys fill us in on what you did with Dresden before? Is that, before we skip over that? Just so I know.
So she, and I think I mentioned this prior select board meeting, I was cleaning up my files, and came across this material that I thought would be helpful to us. It's a lot about roles and responsibilities, board versus administration, where's the line, what are the expectations that the board should have of a leader like a town manager, and similarly, what expectations should town manager have of the board. So I think those prompts are all good to have a conversation around that. She also acted in a facilitator role around the Dresden fields, which was a very hot topic when those fields were being put in, and there was schedules with respect to lighting and noise and how to develop a schedule that the community would be comfortable with.
So behind the high school was a mud pit. Before it was a turf field, and the neighbors didn't want it to be turf field. Really, what kind of music was played and how late it was
Where,
played
at
at
the
Hanover High School.
So that's not the Dresden
Well,
fields
no,
are in Norwich,
it's
right?
it's a Hanover High School. It's along Hovey Lane. It's the,
Well, it
The
was
JV fields along Hovey, are you talking about the turf field?
turf field,
Okay.
it was
At
that
Hanover High.
neighborhood at Hanover High.
Okay.
Dresden School District.
Got it.
That's she
That's
worked
what-
for.
Lights, tree buffer, amplified.
Hours of
sound,
operation, it was, the neighbors were very engaged.
It's a very contentious process.
And, if I remember correctly, the school board was taking a certain approach, which might have magnified the problem and decided to bring in a facilitator and help do it, but she, and that was 20 years ago, she's done a bunch of work since then. That is more about systems thinking than back in the day.
Yes, she had a consulting practice. She's a little more of an academic researcher at this point, but she's still can do consulting.
Did a great demeanor. I think it would be great to get a proposal that all of us could look at and you know, as a draft. That we could make sure that we're, you know, we all are on the same page in terms of what we're gonna do for training.
Yep.
If that makes sense.
Yes.
Everything I know that kind of jumped out at me at what you sent us was just the 91A stuff and how that differs from many other organizations. Voice and kind of it might be hard. So as long as she's fully, I'm sure she'll be very prepared for this, but it's important. That sets this organization apart from every other one in the world. And is a tough one to kind of deal with in terms of organizational, having one voice and working some of this stuff out.
Yes.
We have to do it.
Public. Yes, agreed. Yep, that is a key difference. Yep. Okay, thank you. Yes, and you know, she did deal with that with you know, the school board is subject to exactly the same.
Is the school board in 91A?
Yeah.
Well,
Yes. Yep. Okay, so good idea. We'll follow up with a document to circulate to all of you guys. I'll follow up with her on that. And we'll come back on dates.
I think the same should, you know, maybe if there's anyone who's feels like, I mean, so Carrie and I talked to Marty, but if, as we think about kind of a retreat or goal setting session following up, there's people who wanna put together the agenda. I'm fine in stepping down and like having somebody else do it. If, you know, if you have ideas.
I think it makes a lot of sense, both what you and Jared said, like that we see a proposal, that we understand that, you know, there's a lot of RSAs relative to the select board, not just 91A. And just make sure
Okay,
that's
so,
all covered, right?
yeah, so that's for the training session, but I mean, in terms of our, like, I think you
Strategic
worked on
planning.
the strategic, I mean, putting together the agenda, right? Last year, didn't you have, or you had some ideas in terms of how to approach it with Carrie? I don't know, how did we do that? Was that just,
I don't think I have that much.
how did you put together the agenda? Or did Rob? How did we do the OKR agenda?
I know I was involved.
Terry came up, put forward the OKRs, gave you some homework in advance of the
Yep.
Retreat. And then there were certain things that we put forward as focusing on the budget process, zero-based budgeting, some other things. Alan was present, we worked through.
I remember what we did, I was wondering how we got to that agenda.
So I think it was a collaborative effort with the three of us.
Oh, so I was part of it, okay, good.
And Jenny, you surfaced some stuff too,
Yeah.
some material on OKRs in the context of Pennsylvania. I remember you. found some-
Syracuse has
Syracuse.
uses though.
Yeah.
That was more after.
Yeah. But I guess, so what I'm thinking is, we're not gonna meet again until the third week of August.
August 18th.
Yeah, and so as we're we get a proposal from Marty and we do Google for a training session, we also wanna do Google for, you know, what are our priorities for the year? We don't wanna do that in December, because we're halfway through the year, so.
I think is the idea, I'm a little confused by this, is the idea that Marty helps us do our strategic planning?
I don't
Or
think so.
is this,
Or do you think?
because that's like on this list?
Just to be a facilitator. You would
I said it might not be a bad idea to have
facilitator.
instead of. But I mean, I think it's up to what we want, right?
Yes.
So it seems like we have two things to create.
Right.
One is an agenda for like the goal setting.
Yep.
Which I think, based on some of the stuff I've read by Marty, should be taped. And I agree with that. And the second would be like just what we're gonna do with Marty. What that proposal is.
Yep.
Do you wanna talk to these 5 that you have on the list? To get, like, let us know what you're thinking. Is this what you were thinking the training would be?
So.
I'd be a little behind here, because I wasn't, you know.
So I think, Rob, you abstracted this from some of her materials,
I
right?
did, I took the opportunity to try to give you some framework of what you can do for us. So I sort of parsed out some key topics. Wanting to give you something to discuss tonight.
She would develop some materials specific to the board. I mean, this is not queued up as select board material, so she would do some pre-work to, I think some of the stuff that that applied to the school boards translates, and other stuff probably translates less well. So she's gonna need to do some prep work to help us out there.
Yeah, I can say what seems interesting to me is this idea that she has clearly thought deeply about transformative change and what that looks like across departments, across different functions. And combining that with this idea of strategic planning makes a lot of sense to me. That's like it's something that needs attention, like the same way communication needs attention. It just needs attention or it doesn't get done.
All right, so
So let's get a proposal from Marty and then let's relay our comments to Rob. So we're Rob and Carrie, right? So we're not infraction. We're not having a meeting. Right, based on our comments.
So, okay, so you got a proposal sent to us, we'll introduce
your thoughts.
So the August 18th, was that, using the thread here, was that to be a specific meeting or just the next time we're meeting? Like,
Is that the third,
to be a
is that the
Marty
third
meeting?
Monday?
Yeah, well, that was, I don't know, that was the date that was mentioned.
Yeah, no, I just said that was I haven't seen Carrie's email. The 18th is our third meeting in August. It's a Monday. So that's when the select board meets.
Okay,
So that's our next meeting.
That's our next meeting.
Yep.
Official meeting. Right? I'm looking
Right.
at the right here.
and the idea is to do the goal settings sometime after that then?
Yeah, I think that's what's
Training first. So we would do the training,
after the 18th. So
After the
everything's
18th.
after the 18th,
right?
preferably
And-
before December,
Yes.
So,
like within the first month, although that's.
and like rates and fees are in September. So we're like, are we thinking the second meeting in August, or is there like an additional August meeting?
Additional meetings.
These would be additional, so
These are
maybe
daytime.
training and select.
In August or
Well,
in?
maybe, I mean, those dates that I sent you, if we can squeeze 2 meetings in there, I know it's a big
thought those
ask.
were, oh, some of them were later.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might be a problem for me.
So we'll do the, the Google Meets or the the
Yeah.
Microsoft Meets. We'll figure out what dates might work. And we're looking for 2 dates.
Do 3-hour hunks of time. So, we're giving ourselves 2 Mondays off, but we're adding,
Yes.
we're adding
Yes.
2 3-hour hunks of time during the workday.
It's all in how you sell it, though.
Yeah.
It's,
Nice try, Carrie.
Yeah, when does September process start?
The first is like Labor Days. Yeah. I don't know. September 15th?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was, my vacation. It was,
The first 2 weeks of September?
well, yeah, in between the terms.
Oh,
But
all right, we'll see.
I might not be around.
oh, no,
during
well,
this time.
we all have to be there, so
No, we
let's
do,
just
so-
see, let's see what we can do.
Yeah.
I don't think that was,
We'll
did
research.
you intentionally put those dates out
No.
there, so Jenny can come?
No. We will figure out dates that work for everybody. So that was just a few weeks in the not too distant future to consider, but we'll work it out. Okay. Anything else on calendars, meetings? No, okay. What else do we have under discussion? I think that's it. Wow.
Some announcements, right? Or no, that's later.
The
Donations.
town manager report.
Great. Very comprehensive, by the way.
Yes.
Departments are now getting in the group.
Yeah.
I missed the police department. There were 2 days beyond deadline. As an FYI, NHDOT is in the process of creating a 3-way stop at Etna Road, Great Hollow Road, and Greensboro Road, as approved by this board earlier this year. There are informational signboards out. They should be striking it for.
Any questions? It's gonna be a good thing though, Rob.
I'm excited. I'm also a little nervous about the acceleration and deceleration. Being a neighbor.
Yeah.
Did they look at the other one, the Trescott, Etna?
I don't know if they've done that yet, but
Okay. And then at some point, we should reopen looking at the speeds along Etna Village.
I'll
Because
follow up.
I believe it's more placey than they, Gerard was gonna get back with what data was collected.
I'll
You
follow
mean
up.
more placey.
It was, he suggested that it wasn't very villagey,
Oh, okay.
that like things were set back far, there weren't that many people out. And I said, please show me your data. You know, because they follow the US limits too, but I don't know what data they put into that system. And we
There's no
have,
setbacks in Etna Village.
we have a significant, we have a lot of GIS data, we have traffic data, we have speeding data. We have, videos from people in Etna Village showing the people, walking along and biking along. We
Got it.
have a lot of people who want the village to be more villagey rather than just sort of discounted as not villagey enough.
So, anything else?
No.
Assessing, Norm Renee spoke to the mortgage brokers in the New Hampshire High Finance event on June 26th. As sales data for 2025 revaluation is being finalized. Evaluation model is built. Anomalies on rental housing data is being reviewed. So as we move forward in the reval, that process is moving forward. Updating property values will be shared to the residents in July, at which point residents can, which is now, so it's coming up fairly soon. And we will have in-person, phone, and Zoom meetings for anybody who has questions about reval before we finalize it, present it to the board. Final values will be submitted to the state for rate setting, and we'll be on track to have that done this fall. And a full summary will be posted on the reval page.
One thing on that, just in terms of for the viewing public, is that the reval is effective, it's as the value of the property as of April 1st.
April 1st, 2025. We're 6 months in the rears with taxes, so it'll be reflected in the December.
So, but just so everyone knows that it's not, as we look to our neighborhood where a house just sold for a lot of money, it's not effective. Like that one shouldn't be included, won't be included in the list as of.
Yeah, April 1 is the fixed date
Yeah.
for all improvements, all values based on market and everything else. Assistant clerk, Gary Langlois, and supervisor of the checklist, which I inadvertently left off, Marcia Kelly, attended the state voter registration new clerk training courses. Tracy Walsh attended our regional clerk meeting with DMV, elections, and vital records reps. Planning staff, ongoing interviews for sustainability and mental housing coordinator. I was hopeful to be able to report that we actually had an offer. We did extend an offer back out to our original candidate. She reached out, making herself available again. However, things are not progressing as I had hoped, so I will make a final decision this week and determine whether we reopen the process. Training, Jen Murray, in her last swan song of Vermont Planners, hosted the Vermont Planners Conference on 6/6 in White River, the same day that New Hampshire Planners Conference was in Enfield, New Hampshire.
Well, this is close, not much mileage.
So Alex attended the New Hampshire Planning Conference. Ryan Burkowski and Shane attended the New Hampshire Building Officials Training. Ryan and Shane are both now certified wastewater system inspectors, which is septic systems. And Ryan's now a certified crowd control manager.
Is that like a nightclub job?
So it's an important element to understand that after a certain size, crowd control managers need to be present on site. We are not managing crowds, but we want to make sure we understand what's required, because we're requiring all temporary outdoor events that meet that threshold have crowd control managers. So Ryan got certified just to be available.
So could you tell us, and the viewing audience, what those numbers are? So those of us who might be throwing large gatherings are aware of it.
So private parties are exempt.
Oh, good.
Private residential parties on property at your home, those are all exempt. The state has carved out that niche, but for example, the activities at Dartmouth campus, most of those would need a crowd control. Our 4th of July event on the green needs a crowd control. So our Parks and Rec staff are going to get training. Certain Greek life activities need crowd control. It's a requirement of the fire marshal's office. And it's a function of how the space is contained. So if it's within an air structure or tent, it changes how you address it.
So what if we were to have like Parks and Rec rents out Tenny Field and say you have a party of 100 people?
They
Is
would
that
need
a
a crowd
crowd?
control, yeah.
It's Stores Pond if they have an event at the pavilion.
It's not hard to get certified.
Yep.
It's just a matter of having someone who's available, on call, or present.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And you'll see some theme here where our staff are really digging in and making sure we understand the rules so we can apply them fairly and equally, and ensure that the community is safe. You know, tents are properly erected. They're not heat sources or propane cooking underneath them, things like that. Projects reviewed: minor project for Kendall, 1,400 square foot addition, a 4-lot subdivision on Dogford, unfortunately was withdrawn. 44 unit addition on South Main, Davidson Block, continued to the 22nd. That's an exciting project with infill with our new zoning, last year's zoning, not this past year's zoning. DPW facility tour for Jen, GIS modeling for downtown build-out. This is the height analysis, is approaching completion. The department got a presentation and continues to work on zoning amendment work plan to make sure that we have everything in place to tee it up, get it to the planning board, bring it forward with a concerted effort with a public outreach, all in advance of the crunch time for public hearings. So that's in the process, and they continue to meet with Dartmouth and other applicants as projects start to materialize. Aetna summer reading programs underway. They have an over $650 in local gifts and donations for prizes. FY25 total donations, which is impressive, $48,000, including $25,000 for a new gazebo, $7,000 for shelving, and funding. Fundraiser brought in $1,400. The dog library returned on June 30th. There's sticks available for all dogs to check out, and toys and water. And the July's newsletter is out. Parks and Rec summer camp began on June 23rd. Week one had 137 campers. Most season sessions are full with a wait list. 4th of July parade went off without a hitch, as I understand it, well attended. Summer event kickoff with an ice cream social happened in the park lasted 2 weeks ago. And the new archery program begins in July. Public works staffing, we were down one based on a resignation on May 2nd. Training, Albert Benez, monthly wastewater supervisory training through December. We have LCS provided SCADA training to our staff. Wyatt Ullman had a 20-hour wastewater overview for license renewal. Dylan McDermott, Source Water Protection Conference. DPW monthly meeting included industrial pretreatment and wash bay procedures. Albert attended that. Water reclamation facility, blower number 4 pipe installed. Water reclamation facility inspections ongoing. Tank inspections are ongoing. On-site upgrade design held by Ray Pierce. The meeting with Lebanon staff on the wastewater intermunicipal agreement on 6/19 will be submitted to New Hampshire DES and AG for review, the Select Board in Lebanon City and the Lebanon City Council for approval. We go through this every now and every cyclically to update our wastewater agreement to sell their capacity, and they pay us for the use of our wastewater treatment.
Just a question on that. Is there anything changing with respect to capacity or?
We're not increasing
House.
capacity. We're looking at the concentrations of the discharge and how what we're willing to accept. So the industrial discharge in particular, the hospital, impacts our treatment. Water upgrades, we have a great project page. We've gotten positive feedback from the residents out there. Project is moving forward in the West End. Temporary water line installed on Maple, Downing, Sargent, and Sargent Extension. Maple Street water main installed, nearly complete. Paving by the end of July. Work beginning on Downing Street water main install, Sargent Street main and service replacement 6/30 to 7/25. Maple Street area base paving August 1. Hovey and Buell starting July 7th. Paving. That's paving. Intern projects, engineering intern.
That's like the base. Are we sure what we're doing on Maple?
Base paving.
Yeah,
This is post water line.
that's just, the Maple one's just for the water line,
Yeah.
not closer up to
Yeah.
downtown.
Correct.
And is South Main? being done as well between Brooke and,
I brought that up with Christina
Yeah.
2 weeks ago, because I wasn't here last week. She's gonna talk to Pete and get back. Engineering interns are collecting drainage data for the asset management lead service inventory grant. And 994 of the 1,900 meters have been replaced to date, water meters.
So how are they gonna get the last 1,000?
There'll be a push. People like me are resistant.
Well, there's good reason to be, but I think you might wanna augment there, having done it.
Understood. Regulatory, no update on our medium general discharge. This is our wastewater treatment plant discharge permit. We had a 90-day comment period. We gave feedback and we're waiting for their response to our feedback. Other news, Christina
wait,
Hall.
what is that one? Sorry,
The regulatory.
what is the MPDS?
That's our wastewater discharge permit.
Okay. Thank you.
It was on, I think we received notice in early January that it was open for comments. Pete asked for an extension because it was 40-something pages. We provided him a substantial comment list. We're waiting for feedback. CPC&H, Pete is now the chair of the Risk Management and Finance Committee.
Christina Hall.
Christina Hall.
Yeah.
Oh,
Other
thank you.
Yeah.
Christina Hall was elected president of the New Hampshire Public Works Association for 2025 through 2027. We're excited about that. CPC&H, Community Power, Risk Management and Finance Committee, Pete's now the chair. They met and recommended new rates. The rates for Liberty basically aren't changing. There's not going to be an increase for the baseline. And we're recommending, we're going to be going forward with the Granite Plus as our primary rather than stepping it down. Fire department, one
Those
firefighter,
rates are the same.
consistent with Liberty. Or the same as
It's Liberty. Okay, thanks.
fire department at Granite Basic. We're staying at Granite Plus to help meet our 2030 goal with the opportunity to buy up to 100%. We're short one staff effective July 12th. As noted, the individual resigned to take a position in New London. Training firefighter Elder completed an advanced swiftwater rescue course in South Bend, Indiana, training with technicians from across the USA. The department hosted an obstetrics advanced life-saving training, training the trainer section conducted by Dartmouth Health and the New Hampshire Office of EMS, Captain Jeremy Lombard and firefighter Lee. Oh boy. Joe Pack, thank you. I'm starting to fade, unfortunately. Are now certified instructors in the program. And the watch area was remodeled by our town building maintenance team, resulting in a more modern and efficient workspace. That's all I have.
Thank you. That's a lot. I know it's a lot to put together, not just on your part, but on all the departments, but it's really important. Everything gets to that question of like, what do you get for with your tax dollars? I mean, there's a lot of good stuff going on. So it's very helpful. Thank you. Sorry.
Problem. The parking RFP, all those have been submitted, right?
Yeah, they were due on June 20th.
Okay.
We received one response.
From,
Desmond.
sorry, I shouldn't have done.
Okay.
We're reviewing it and I'll have a recommendation shortly.
If there are other items that we want to approval of items by consent, we have donations and appointments and we'll come back to the dimensions. Does anyone want to pull anything out of the consent agenda? No, then motion. Back to the donations. Is there a motion?
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
In a second.
I'll second that.
Second discussion.
I was just wondering if you wanna list out the appointments. Recognize,
The appointments, sure, do you want to read those?
I don't have the page.
It's Wendy Epps, zoning board of adjustment, full member, Matt Stover, CIPC, full member. And while we're at it, let's just go through the donations and we'll vote. So donations, Etna Library, 1,000 from the Etna Ladies Aid. Parks and Rec, $1,500 from White River Toyota for the 4th of July events, $2,000 from Dartmouth College for the 4th of July events. And the police department, $100 from Joseph and Marianne. Paid for art.
Paid for.
Paid for.
It's spelled wrong.
All right, paid for. Thank you. All right. Okay, unless there are any further comments,
Just thank you all for the donations.
thank you.
And that ladies aid, I didn't know. That's awesome. I wonder if does that have to do with the old timers fair? Or is it, cause isn't there, it's around this time, right? I don't know. Anyway.
Do we have a second? We
I
have a second,
seconded.
yes, yes, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, select board reports.
Downtown meeting last week, was okay. Seeing a lot of the same kind of folks, talking about the same things. So we're trying to figure out how to advance. Parking is a key part of it. There's also public art and Ledger Park and other things that we're working on. Ledger Park is making some good advancements. We're almost to the part where we can start accepting donations. There's still a couple boxes we have to check there, but yeah, I'm excited for that. Still really hoping for an August open date, but it's gonna be tough to achieve that one.
August open day?
Yeah, I was shooting for August 1st, but that's gone. But you might see some activity very soon.
Cool. The only other kind of interesting note is that Tracy Hutchins, who's been the executive director of the Upper Valley Business Alliance, and then prior to that, the Hanover Chamber of Commerce, resigned recently. And so that position is now open. And I know that the UEBA board is trying to decide direction to go.
Thank you. Okay. I would like to talk about the Hanmatsu Sister City visit, which is coming up. It is typically the last weekend in July. This year is no different. And please mark your calendars for Monday, July 28th. And I believe it is 9 a.m., 9 to 9:30, be here at Boardroom. I unfortunately am out of town for attending a wedding, but so I'm looking to my fellow select board members to be here, and Dr. Anna Templeton is acting as the visitor coordinator on our side this year, so she's put together a nice program. And she will be in attendance, but looking to select board and to Rob to be a presence and to interact with our visitors from Hanmatsu. It will be similar to past years where it will be gift exchange, swag bags for the kids, both maybe town and Dartmouth swag. So very much along the lines of what we did last year.
I won't be able to attend that.
Right. Thank you for looking.
If there's a chance that I'll be driving cross country that week, but if I'm not, I can be here.
Okay, all right. Jenny, Jared,
I have it on my calendar, so I think I should be able to make that.
thank you.
This is the 28th.
28th, yes, 9 a.m.
It's a really nice event.
Oh, yeah, it's wonderful.
It's
Absolutely.
it's really cool to be sister cities. And these young people who come here, like really young people, they're like 7th graders.
Yes.
And they're.
They're so enthusiastic, the adults are enthusiastic.
And I still have a little, very nice bowl of we exchange gifts.
It's terrific. So glad we're keeping
Thank
that
you
going.
for keeping it going, yeah.
That's it for me. Joanna?
I've been fairly active. How has an RFP, out the street received 3 proposals to look at how they can use the space more efficiently within the Howe Library. Started this work probably 5 years ago, and then COVID hit and it was put on hold. And there's just some things that have been identified to better meet the community's needs. And so interviewed one from last week, there was today, there's engaged, it's an architect, it's a space planning exercise to really figure out how we can use what we have. So.
Okay.
Nothing else to report.
All right, thanks, Joanna. Jenny?
Speaking of librarians, Junction's Art Media put out their annual report. I'll just forward it to everyone so you can take a look. They're doing really well, especially considering cable revenues are declining. But they've been revamping. But they released their annual report with the screening of the librarians. Just all about how,
Yeah.
librarians across the country are on the front lines of a lot of banned book stuff. And the Regional Planning Commission just update, they're moving forward with their Thriving Communities grant, so that was not yet messed with. Which is good, because they'll come up with stuff that will benefit the Upper Valley that we'll be able to use as well, just from, they're helping specific communities, but it's a Thriving Communities grant looking into what helps make our towns more resilient. Sustainable Hanover, everyone was very grateful for Peter Klobacki being in a leadership role on the community power and for risk and training. And they were very interested in ensuring that the sustainability park was taken care of in the future. Because their maintenance of it, they can't keep up with it on their own as a volunteer force right now. So they were interested in coming up with a more systemic way. And then Hanover Bike Walk will be having their meeting next week. Hoping to have information on Dunster Wyatt for those folks. Because they're still very interested in that crossing being improved. And other than that, everyone's just very gung-ho about the shared streets work that's being done. I think Carolyn Riddish said the next engagement will be sometime in the fall. And she said people tend not to be around in the summer, and I think she's correct. The survey's still up. Yeah.
Really important announcement about the sustainability that I stopped in the street. Saturday or Sunday. One of our co-chairs, she was very proud to say that Hanover Sustainability Committee won the grand prize for their food.
Yes, for their food.
And the theme was.
It was harmony, so they took the in music, and they had the guy who makes all the kind of iron sculptures out in Etna. What?
David Farr.
Yes, thank you. And they had all those musical instruments on a float and then tied everything into harmony, and, supporting a more sustainable earth. Yeah.
So they were she stopped me. Sorry, you couldn't make it, but we won. Grand prize, not just first prize, it was the grand prize,
nice
they got $300.
And they also had cake
And they had cake and music.
for the birthday of the country, which is always very popular.
Yep.
And I like that they sort of give away the cake, just pieces of cake. No forks, no plates,
No napkins.
because the cake just goes in the faces. Everyone's happy.
So,
There was somebody from the Sustainable Hanover, literally yelling at kids to stop eating candy and to read their signs, which was a little strange. My kids were very, but Kind of on the bike walk, Crosby Street discussion. So first of all, that sucks having that street closed. Because I drove it every day and I don't know how many times I've made a right out of the parking lot and like every time I'm like, God, and have to go all the way around. So I didn't realize that that street was gonna close when we had this discussion a couple of months ago about the potential to change the traffic flow and potentially install a circle there. But is that something that could maybe be back on the table for when they open that back up in 18 months?
So the design element will be back before we bring it with Dartmouth, and part of it is coming out of the conversation with Carolyn. And then will be vetted by engineers to make sure it functions. But there are some options that we're looking at right now. So, but not only Lebanon, but Wheelock, both intersections.
Oh, interesting.
So
Okay.
it's good.
Wheelock one is, I mean, they're both challenging intersections.
Wheelock is our higher volume accident area, I think.
Now,
Now,
it used to be Crosby and Lebanon. Just barely eked out around just south of the co-op on Park, but now East Wheelock and Crosby just shot right by them. Yeah,
The,
yeah, those are kind of the big three areas, and then as you would expect, like West Wheelock biking, and then
Yeah.
Trescott by Road.
So we're,
yeah.
the process that we're involved in, be looking at the work that Carolyn's doing, figuring out how that fits into the overall design, try to figure out how we make sure we have a functioning design that addresses all users' needs in a safe and comprehensive way, and then present it to you and Dartmouth to get it implemented as part of the project.
No, it's good news. Thank you. I'm glad that you guys are well ahead of me as usual.
I had a couple of people who, I was not here when they closed the street. And there were, the signs were flashing, Crosby Street is closed. And then the next flash said, have a nice day. And they said, I don't know who put that up there, but I broke out, two people said, I just broke out laughing, like, Crosby Street's closed, have a nice day. I guess they get rid of the have a nice day.
I am so excited to rollerblade there. Like on the portion that's not dug up. It'd be like Central Park.
At 200 yards.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
sure.
Central Park used to only be open a little bit.
Yep.
Now the whole thing is open. Except for the crosstown, like low grade
Yep.
ones.
It's pretty cool.
Anything else in committees? No, okay, so,
Conservation, I think, meets
oh, sorry.
this Wednesday.
Do you have anything else?
I have nothing for public session, but we do have a need for non-public.
It's only a motion.
We move into non-public session to discuss items pursuant to RSA 91:1, 3, 2, A, B, D, E, L.
Okay, second.
Second that.
Yeah, okay, full call.
Yay.
Gracias, yes.
Diane, yes.
Wickham, yes.
Chamberlain, yes.
All right, we are in non-public. Mike, thank you
Thank you, officer.
very much.
Thank you for being.